if there's two of you that have already talked, and then another one in that conversation goes to a third one and says, this is what we talked about, and this is the plan. That's when you can get into territory that can be a little concerning.
Right. But the goal is not to make everybody totally ignorant and totally uninformed when they get in this room.
The legislator made it hard on us for sure.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And they don't even have to abide by these rules.
Yeah, they smoke in the hallway anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
So sorry to distract you.
Let's see here. Well, I can skip forward. Public information is pretty much everything. Anything that is written, given, produced, pretty much everything. I've already talked about temporary custodian. So page 15, I just put, just for your information, violations of the Public Information Act. And these would be the three most common violations: destroying public information, giving out confidential information, or probably more so in Sheila's role, refusing to give information, which I don't think she will.
So like when we get these, do we have to keep?
No.
They're not public information. I mean,
They are public
but
information.
they're not the only source of it.
Right. That's Sheila's duty.
Right. So
They're
like,
on our website.
okay.
Mhm.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, please leave your.
No problem.
And then the last page, I was going to be very, very brief on. I just wanted you guys to be aware of these, and maybe you probably already are. Two important, I guess, issues to keep you unindicted: conflicts of interest. That's a complicated one. And what we always tell bodies is, if you think that you might have a conflict of interest, go to your town staff, go to your attorney, and just ask us, and we'll go through the details, because it's a complicated, it's a multi-step process. We got to figure out what percentage of income are you getting from it. Is it a business? Is it real property? And then we have to figure out what the special economic effect is. So it's a complicated process. So just my only caution to you guys: if you think you might have a conflict of interest, just ask us, and we'll go through the process with you.
How about a developer asking you to lunch?
Not technically, I don't recommend it.
What if you paid your own way? Dutch or something?
Still looks bad.
Yeah.
And you can't walk around with a receipt pasted on your forehead, so there will always be suspicion.
Yeah, and for that reason, like we've taken that. I think the appearance of it, because of that, in another city that we did, we had developers that did want to take our planners out all the time. And what we ended up doing was saying, okay, if you want to talk to the planners, you're going to come to City Hall. We're going to set up meetings, and you're going to come in. You can meet with the planners. You can meet with any person at P&Z, and we're going to do it here at City Hall.
An open meeting in
No.
the P&Z?
Well, no, so it'd only be like one or two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Improper influence is basically taking bribes.
So coming back to the one,
Oh, sure.
your example was, if we are going to make money off of somebody else, what if we are like, there's contractors in this town, right? Our roofs all got trashed, right? Someone's like, hey, we put on a new roof for you. We get all these cards. I assume I can't hire anybody who lives in this town to put on my roof.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. No, conflicts of interest, the easiest example for P&Z is if you own a piece of property that is adjacent to property that is up for rezone before you. That would be a conflict of interest.
What if my friend is a developer and he comes in and
That's not a statutory conflict of interest. If you think that it's something that could.
I'm not getting any money? I
Yeah,
just
no,
happen to
it's
know.
not a statutory conflict
Okay.
of interest
Okay.
at all. Our firm, we do support what we would call ethical conflicts of interest, where you think that like your interest in this would be biased and you want to abstain. But yeah, it's something that.
Okay.
Dave, you have a question?
Yeah, I do commercial flooring at a commercial flooring company, but if one of them asked me to do all the floors in their estates, that will be a conflict of interest.
Like, where they're gonna build
Yeah.
20 homes, and they said they didn't want, we're gonna bid on that.
Yeah, it's a conflict of interest, but only if you're up here.
Right.
I mean, if you're not
He
passing
includes
judgment,
himself, right?
if you're not passing judgment on the project itself, you can sell them whatever you want. Because they're hiring you and doing them any good up here.
Yeah, as long as they're not giving you gifts, you're fine. Yeah.
But he probably shouldn't be voting on their development.
Yeah, that's the point. Unless he's
Oh,
actually making a judgment on their development, well, yeah, then it is a conflict. But
Yeah,
But
so
if he's
it-
not, then
so
you're any other citizen at that point in time.
it would definitely be an ethical conflict for sure. If we wanted to get into the weeds and determine whether it meets the statutory definition, we could, but like that takes into getting like what percentage of your income annually do you get?
I mean, again, the law is not to drive entrepreneurs out of business. Like, Michael Canada, he lives in town. Oh, he can't do any developments in town. No, he can do whatever developments he wants here
Mhm.
that we let him do, or that he qualifies for. Yeah. And that goes for your roofer question as well. I mean, just because your roofer is in business in town and does your roof, that's plenty fine, so long as you aren't making a decision on whether that roofer has a contract with the town or that roofer has a project that he wants to do that you're approving.
Okay.
Right? So, I mean, it's not intended to interfere with business, except where business is fundamentally a bribe.
When
Yeah.
in doubt, ask.
I just don't know if you will have one in the future. That was my concern.
Yeah, no, indeed. Yeah, if they may have something that comes up some other day, unfortunately, humans can't foresee the future, so who would know?
Yeah.
You can't be held responsible in the future for something that happens in the future that you had no clue about that's happening today.
Yeah.
I'm sure the lawyers are working on that one, but at the moment, you're not held to that standard.
Yeah, the whole conflicts of interest, the intent there is that you're not passing ordinances or laws that are going to specifically benefit you. And that's the reason, like as a lawmaker, you want that completely out of the equation. So that's the intent of those. That's all I had.
Great, thank you.
Well, I do think
Quiz.
I do think it would be useful to have an executive session, maybe at the next meeting or whatever, to kind of go through some of these things we really are affected by town legal activities and whatnot. Be useful for us because we've got some questions in those areas that are not appropriate for tonight.
Okay, yeah, I'll be happy to get with Troy and we can talk about it and come up with something on the agenda.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Um,
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so one last, I think, Troy, can you kind of quickly walk us through the changes to this?
Yes,
Okay.
so the ordinance we have in front
Thank you,
of
Matt.
was,
Thank you very much.
Passed by council on August 12th. After that was passed, we identified a couple areas, there's about 5 or 6 things that we wanted to add to it after it was passed. So if you look, for example, on page 2, B, we should have crossed that out. Dunaway kind of identified that as one of the things we should have corrected.
Good.
There's a correction there. And then if you look on.
Oh, so the markouts are,
Those are the new ones.
This is redlined, you're saying this is redlined to what the council passed.
No. The red line, anything that's red line is what we want to amend.
But
Yes,
from
you're
what the
correct.
council
You're
passed.
correct.
Yes.
You're right. Yeah, so it's redlined from what the council did to what we wanted.
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So on page 6G, building permits should not be issued for unplatted parcels. That was one.
Is that whole section new then? That section G is all new, is that correct?
No, just what's added, just what's in the permit.
Just where it says building permits. So it said when a building, it says what's approved now starts off with when a building permit.
Right.
Okay,
So everything
got
is
it.
black, everything
Got
is
it.
black.
Okay, just make sure I understood how it was.
And then on page 7, suspensions, just some of the words need to be crossed out, and that continues on page 8. And we had on page 35, as it relates to replanning, we missed some of the taking out the development plan. So there's two little sections there that we should take out. And then I think there should have been under definitions. The definition page that we had identified the definition of minor plat. Yeah, on page 13, I'm sorry, page 13, minor plat, Matt and Green added some language. If none of this is required, the approval of variances and waivers and exceptions, so that's in the definition. Because further on in the document, it talks about doing administrative approvals, based on that definition, so if you look on page 41, that's where he's referring to minor plats. They meet all the subdivision ordinances authorized by administrator and minor plats. So that's where that definition kind of plays.
Okay, so we can review this and see that.
So I have a question. Can you, Sheila or Troy, can you pull up, or maybe even Chris, the height requirements on accessory buildings? Because there's a really bad sentence there, really, really bad. I don't remember the section, but that has to be fixed.
Okay, that would be the zoning ordinance now.
Yeah.
So that takes a little bit more. That requires.
Okay, but if
We'll
you-
have to make an ordinance.
Yeah, but if you pull it up, then at least I can pass it on to the ordinance guy.
Yeah.
But those are the changes that we are going to recommend to have been when they passed on the 12th. So I just wanted you guys to have those.
Thank you.
Take a look at them.
A little late night reading.
Perfect. Insomnia solution.
So the other thing I wanted to bring up, mostly for Mitch, because he's working on this, is, and I talked
Don't
to,
leave her out of it.
yeah, and her too. Okay, I forget you're on that committee too. I talked to Chris about this. In particular, there's one property that will go unmentioned, but they have a big building like right up close to a turning circle on 14 acres. And one of the designs of the accessory building, and I know because I did it, and I confess to having had a loophole that I didn't think about. The accessory ordinance was designed to keep accessory buildings away from the street.
Right.
You wanted people to see the fronts of the houses, and if they want a pool house or
Right.
whatever, and that's in the back.
Right.
So it was designed to say that all accessory buildings must be behind the front of the house.
Right.
So the whole is that it doesn't address what happens if the house is like way the hell over there and faces the other way.
Right.
Can you put your accessory building right on the street?
Yeah.
And that was the whole point, was to avoid.
Right. It's
on
the
street.
definition of the front. I mean, because this is on my list.
Yeah, okay, good, you got it. So,
Yeah.
okay,
The
good. So
infamous church property is what brought it for me.
I didn't
Because,
say that.
because the houses, so just so everybody understands, what we talk, accessory buildings are sort of bound on an assumption of being on the side or behind the front of the house. But what isn't clear is where the front of the house is. And what we've always considered the front of the house is the street, because that's logically where people put the front of their house. But a homeowner could pivot their house 90 degrees. So what faces the street is actually technically the side of the house, because they put a big circular drive around, and you drive up to the front. And then the accessory building literally can be up against the street.
With a normal setback.
So, yeah, so we have to solve for that. I think the answer is solving for the definition of where the front is, independent of the actual front of the house.
Well, and it seems to me you need to tie it somehow to the street frontage,
Right.
not the front of the
Right.
house frontage,
Correct.
but the street frontage. So that's, so long as that's on the agenda for you
It's
guys
on
to
my
kind of crank through your thing. And Sheila, did you find that roof heights?
Yeah, so
I was
it's
looking
the
at
front.
Steve yesterday, or day before yesterday.
Yeah.
But I wrote it in the minutes to look for it.
Okay, because the ordinance for the height says, well, if you're so far from the street, it needs to be this high, and if you're so far from the street, it needs to be this high, and if you're so far from the street, it can be higher, but in no cases shall you meet the lower limit, so you exceed the lower limit of 35 feet. the lower level of 35 feet or something. In other words, everybody's got to be 35 feet. And so all the other three sentences are useless. So it's just a bad sentence there on the height of accessory buildings.
So also, and you guys tell me how to do this so that we stay clean, but if anybody has concerns or things they want us to think about from an ordinance standpoint, tree ordinances, I mean, there's a bunch of them, send those things to
To
Sheila, and Sheila can then get them to the subcommittee. But when we started the subcommittee, I had heard, well, this person has some things they think should be looked at, and this person has some things they should be looked at. And then I started asking, and nobody actually has those things. They just have those things in the air. So if there are specific things, let's just start to get those pulled together so we can put them in a list for
I
the
think,
subcommittee.
Sheila or Troy, I'd sent you the recommendation that we look at the Salina tree ordinance. You remember that, mentioning that, the Salina tree ordinance? I talked to the town manager there, and they made $250,000 last year just on fines for developers for violating tree ordinances.
I'm sure Flowerman made more than that.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, I mean, there's some good tree ordinances around us. And since we're big on rural equestrian, we ought to be protecting our trees. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's in the minutes now, so. She won't
Pretty
forget it.
extensive one in Highland Village, actually.
Yeah, Highland Village could be a good one because he's enforced it, so, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what we need. At the moment, we really have nothing.
Can I make one more request before we go? So this is dated 2019. I think it'd be good if everybody here had an updated.
Comp plan,
This is
master
one
plan.
this is about 2 years old that I got in one of our meetings, but it's dated 2019. So you said there's an updated version of
There
this?
is one on the website, but I can get you a copy. The one on the website is March of 2022.
It'd be great if we all had one, I think.
Yeah, we've talked about onboarding training, thinking ahead a little bit, because in May, we'll kind of, everything's up. We should probably think about, as part of that onboarding training, almost a binder with some basic stuff to hand out, because I don't think any of us ever got anything. Jeff's obviously a binder king, so he puts together his own, but I think that would be kind of a good thing to get folks started too. I don't think they need to have all the ordinances, but
People are always asking.
but I think there's probably a set of documents that we could,
Okay.
here we go.
All right, any further general discussion?
Hungry.
Okay, hearing none, it's dinner time and I declare the meeting adjourned.
So we're not going to just for barbecue?
It was-
Because I'm not excited.
We gotta notice it.
So we're not going to your house?
Talk business.
I just wanted to go to your
Talk about the
house.
Cowboys.
They say technically, you guys keep this.